So when the movie ended, there was someone that yelled out,
"This shit was trash."
And everyone just burst out laughing. So that should give you an idea of how this is going to turn out. Well, Jeepers Creepers 3 is finally out after all the controversy and struggle and all the years that it's gone through to finally get made. It's finally out. I drove right out to see it, and now I've finally seen it. Now, what did I think? Well, it was a giant hunk of garbage. What a terrible film. I'm not going to get into the controversy. I mean, he's an awful person, but I'm reviewing the movie. I'm talking about the movie. I'm reviewing the movie. I'm not talking about the people, the individual behind the movie. I'm saying the movie's terrible, not because of the individual behind the camera, but I'm judging the movie based on its own merits. I love the first film. It's one of my favorite modern horror films. I even really like the second one. Sure, it's not as good as the first one, but I really enjoy it. And they've been talking about making a third one for what seems like ages, from back when they were considering to make it a prequel western and so on. And now it's finally out, and they opted to make it a movie that takes place after the first one and right before the second one, because that makes sense.
Fear has a scent. I know it, and it knows me.
What happened here happened before.
After the incident at the jail, a team is rounded up to go out and kill the creature. This film is baffling to me. I mean, the first 15 to 20 minutes of this movie is literally the cops tinkering with this thing's truck and finding out that it's apparently rigged with all these different traps, like falling spikes that can cut somebody in half, and this knife harpoon thing that can shoot out of the pipe in the car. The posse that's rounded up to go out and get this thing, and them gearing up to go out and chase this thing, and the actual chase is muddled by Meg Foster talking to her dead son and Meg Foster's granddaughter being involved with a romance with a guy whose face is covered in freckles, who is also sad that she's poor. But at least we have random characters with no names giving expository dialogue about the granddaughter's backstory. At least we've got that. So the film takes place entirely in one day, which means 99% of the time you see the creeper lurking, flying, and killing in the daytime. And seeing that creeper doing those things during the daytime not only looks ridiculous and terrible, and it just looks like you're looking at this large person in prosthetics, but it also diminishes the effect of the creeper. The only time you see the creeper before, like in the daytime, was, I think there was one sequence in the first one where he's in the truck and you barely see him, and then there's one sequence at the beginning in the second one where you see him fly by really quickly, but he flies by so quick that, you know, you can barely tell, it barely lingers on the effect of him flying to then notice the terrible CGI. And that was like back in the early 2000s with that scene. Just seeing it doing these things in the daytime is just awful. And there's only two sequences where you see the creeper at night, and one of those sequences is literally the creeper getting beaten to a pulp and horribly being able to capture a girl that's running away. And the CGI that they use for like the creature flying or throwing things and different things like that is embarrassing. The CGI on the crows and like objects flying looks like effects from the 90s. Okay, so a bit of fair warning. I will at least say that there will be some spoilers. So, fair warned. But this movie is just awful. Just don't see it. I mean, there's spiky rolling heat-seeking bombs that his truck is able to set off, apparently. I mean, the things that the creature does in this movie, and the gadgets and the rigs on the creature's truck are so over the top that it's not scary, it's laughable. All the characters in this movie are so bland and thin, and they're horribly acted. I mean, the granddaughter just runs away. She gets caught and then she runs away. The freckled guy gets sad and then he runs off and then he randomly finds her. Their romance is started up with hay. Meg Foster's arguments with her dead son over the creature's severed hand that she's been keeping at her house, which, if held, reveals the truth about this creature, which we never see. That goes absolutely nowhere. The sheriff that comes in to try to fix a situation and round up a posse to get this thing, he has a fake-out moment in a terrible, over-the-top action scene, and then he just dies and it goes nowhere. Every single character, there's a bit of setup for some of these people. And then that setup is pointless because those characters go absolutely nowhere because they just end up doing nothing or they die. No one literally goes anywhere. Nothing. Not even like the creature. Nothing goes anywhere. Why is there no attention towards all the damages and incidences with the creature, and practically most of this town noticing this thing exists, and all the damages and deaths that this creature has caused? Why is there not that much else attention that's garnered to it? Maybe even higher law enforcement getting in and trying to stop this thing? Like, as in like right after that in 2, we're just back to nobody even noticing this thing exists, except for like a couple people. Why in this movie does the creature seem like it's going to sleep? It's going through its changes and it's going to sleep. But then, at the end of the movie, it references the school bus from 2, as though after this, we're going to go right into the events in the second movie. Why then does it seem like the creature's going to go to sleep until it wakes back up, after 23 months and 23 days?
Why?
What's with the open ending? Why is Justin Long's sister come back and she's like, oh, I'm gonna go get this thing. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. We're gonna go get this thing. It's like, where is that gonna go? That doesn't even lead anywhere in the second movie. Where is this gonna go? You made a film where the first film was such an effective horror film, and now in its third film, in my sold-out theater, people were constantly laughing. And by the time it was over, everyone was going on about how horrible it was. Not one good response. Even the people that I heard that thought that they were going to jump and be scared for this movie were laughing constantly. There were actually some people that actually jumped during Friend Request. That never happened once during Jeepers Creepers 3. I do not recommend this film. This film is a horrible piece of garbage. It's a horrible piece of garbage that no one should see. Like, do you like the first two Jeepers Creepers? You're not gonna like the third one. Do you like horror movies in general? You're gonna laugh at this thing. It's a terrible film. I do not recommend this. It is awful. It is an awful film. It could have been fun. Even the idea that I thought that this movie was going to be, which was just a chase movie with a group of cops and the creature, would have been far better than the film that I ended up seeing. Terrible movie. Terrible. Don't watch it. It's an awful film. It's an awful, awful waste of time. Terrible movie. Terrible. You know what you could do, though? You could do this, and then this, and then this, if you enjoyed the video. And thank you very much for actually watching this. They even say Jeepers Creepers in the movie. How pathetic is that?